Hey everyone, welcome to season 12 of the Tension Podcast. We're a show that acknowledges most of life and faith is lived in the tension between the two extremes. Each week we look at what many of us were taught growing up in evangelical churches. We weigh it against what our current culture is saying, and we try to find what Jesus has for us in the tension between the two. If we haven't met, my name is Jonathan Caron, and we're joined as always by our co-host, Mr. Eric Williams. Eric, go ahead and say hey to the people.
What's up? Spicy day today. We just talked about it. I think every podcast we should take the big idea and then do something in our regular everyday lives that's going to be like a little bit of a warm up for us, to get us a little fired up. Although I think this is probably one of the easiest topics to start getting fired up about, because all you need to you just bring up a group of people or a name or a nickname or and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah, I was telling Eric right before we started recording, I got an email from a client and they brought a new person into their team after we've started the project. And the new person who wasn't in the initial meetings is wanting to change all the things we agreed about in the initial meetings. And so I'm already a little fired up because that nothing annoys me more than that. We spent all this time coming up with a plan. New person comes in. So if you get extra spicy, Jonathan, today, I'm sorry. Drink some milk, but that's just where I am today.
Yep.
So, hi, welcome to us. If you're new, this season is all about honest conversations. It's the last week of a season dedicated all about that. These episodes have been a little different than in seasons past. So if you go back and listen to the other stuff, it's not all like this. Oftentimes we would try to teach the history of an issue or give data to back up what we were talking about. But this season, we're just focusing on honest, vulnerable, and open conversations because, quite frankly, we just need more of those in the church today. But that means the conversations are a little more messy. They take a little longer to get to the point, and they don't always have a pretty bow at the end of them. They don't always feel nice. You don't leave them with closure. It's just basically, these are conversations I think people are feeling, but not necessarily having. So we're trying to open the door so that you can have those conversations. While this week is the last week of that, next week is that last technical episode of the season, and we will be celebrating our 100th episode as a podcast. It comes out Monday, March 24th. For that episode, we're going to celebrate the impact this show has had on you and other people. So to do that, we want to share your story straight from you. But to share those stories, we need those stories, and we need them this week. If you're listening as this comes out, we need them by Thursday, March 20th. You can send them in three ways. You can do a written story, hello@tensionpodcast.com. You can record an audio message and send it to hello@tensionpodcast.com or to me on Instagram at Jonathan_Caron. Or you can send a video message, those same two places, hello@tensionpodcast.com or at Jonathan_Caron. Whatever the impact we've had, we'd love to hear it because, as we've talked about before, this show gets hard at times, and living in this tension in life gets hard at times. So we want to celebrate the good things that have come from this over the last 100 episodes.
Yeah, and the impact could be, a number of anything, because just as a little preview.
Are you going where I think you're going?
Somebody texted and with photos said that
with photos
that the impact on them was that they were listening to the podcast while getting a vasectomy. So,
not what I chose to listen to when I got mine, but
yeah, whenever you're questioning life choices, we'll be there. We'll be there for you. So he said it's a podcast that gets you through your theological quandaries and your family planning decisions. So that's one of our faves. So if you have a similar story, you can let us know.
Does that beat the review that said, I didn't want to listen to this podcast, but I'm glad I did?
Yeah, right. Well, I think we've had a couple of people talk about listening to us in the shower while vasectomies. Yep. So hopefully that's as far as it goes, but I mean, maybe we'll see. You know what? If in 9 months, one of you has an announcement that you've named your kid Tension or Jonathan or Eric for some specific reason, or just episode,
Tension.
Sean for Tension. Anyway.
10 Sean last name.
No.
If one of you comes to us and says, I'm saying it right now. If you come to me with a birth certificate that you named your kid, 10 Sean, whatever last name, Eric, let me know if you'll match this. I will put $500 into a college
Oh, hell
fund
yeah.
for that
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah. 500 college, 501, or what do they call it? A 504 plan?
529.
529. What am I?
We will give you $1,000 kickstart to your 529
There you go.
if you
That's
name
right.
your kid 10 Sean.
Oh, wow.
Or hey, if you have a better name, a better 10 Sean name, send us a message
Let
because
us know.
that'll be fun.
Yeah, if you think somebody's listening to us while they're getting down, that's fine. Just tell us what the kid's name should be.
All right, so today's big idea is that if I am honest, there are neighbors I'm having a hard time loving right now. And I hate the fact that I'm having to do this next part. Before we get into this discussion, I think it's important we define what our neighbor is. Because J.D. Vance and the Christian Nationalists, which, by the way, is the best name for the world's worst Christian cover band, they are trying to redefine what the Bible says our neighbor is. So before we get into this conversation, let's define our neighbor.
Okay.
I believe our neighbor is simply anyone we come into contact with. And in today's world where we're more connected than ever, it truly means anyone we come in contact with, digitally or physically. Eric, what would you add to that definition before we move into the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, come in contact with, I think is really good. Because if you're thinking about when in the story of the Good Samaritan, where Jesus is like talking about who the neighbor is, because that was the big trick question, right? Somebody's like, oh, well, who is my, the first century J.D. Vance was there. Oh, well, Lord, who is my neighbor? And Jesus was like, the person you hate the most that you'd probably never see because you stay away from them all the time, that person is also your neighbor. You know what I mean? And so like in my mind, Jesus was expanding our definition of what neighbor would be. So I would even like expand it to like anyone that we could potentially depend on. And because we know in this world, like I would just say every human being is my neighbor because we share the same planet, like we share the same space. So, anyone we come into contact with, I think is a very good, like, let's just start. That's the red letters, right? That's the red letters of the Bible. I think if I were to expand it, it's like, yeah, but really it should be everyone, every person that is living in our same, like if I have any
letter of the law versus spirit of the law.
Yeah,
I think letter of the law,
exactly.
It says anyone we come in contact with. Spirit of the law is everyone.
Yeah, everyone. Right. So I'm not saying that like, yes, I'm adding to your definition, not
correct.
Turning it,
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The other caveat we have to say before we get into this conversation. I've said it before on here. I will continue to say it. I truly believe Christians can follow Jesus together while disagreeing on how we apply our faith to politics. I believe we can disagree with respect and dignity. I recently had a conversation with a guy from church where we disagreed on literally every single application of our faith into government.
Yeah.
And we disagreed on Donald Trump and Elon Musk. He's a big believer in Elon Musk. I can't stand the guy. I think he's I told him, I think those are two of the worst human beings on this planet. I told him that to his face.
Yeah.
But the conversation was respectful because before we even got into those things, we acknowledged we agreed on how Christians are supposed to treat people and apply their faith personally. We have disagreements on how the government should do things, government waste, all those things. But even he disagreed with some of the stuff J.D. Vance was saying about our neighbor. He said, like, I remember what he said was that that's how he views it personally, but that's not how the Bible says it. So he says application-wise, he takes care of his family first and then goes out the rings like Vance says. But he said the Bible does not say that.
Because not everybody knows what Vance said, I think. That's what I'm realizing, too, is as I'm having conversations with people, and I think these things are egregious things that every Christian should know is happening, they're like, well, I had no idea that was even happening. So J.D. Vance said what?
Now I got to look it up.
Okay, so I'll paraphrase it while you're looking it up. Basically, what he was talking about is this, and in my mind, the context was that it was in this like trying to own the libs or anti-libs, because he's saying that Democrats are trying to expand out the way that we think of neighbors, and that the conservatives or the Christians, or from J.D. Vance's perspective, is you serve your family, you help your family first, and then like you kind of go out from there. Your family, and then your friends, and then your community, and then your state, and city, state, country, then the world. And the point
All
I
right,
think he's making. Go ahead.
here's what I said. There's this old school, and I think it's a very Christian concept, by the way, that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens in your own country, and then after that, you can focus and prioritize the rest of the world.
And in that quote, he was saying that basically that the liberals have it the opposite way. So he was trying to make the point that liberals in this country, the big meanies, the boogeymen, the bad guys, want you to love someone that's millions of miles away, or thousands of miles away, before you love your own country. So I get that that's kind of the culture war aspect of it, but I think it's
and he was saying it's a biblical concept to love your family first above everything else,
right,
while disregarding what's going on around you so that you can take it. Again, last week's episode, that individualistic idea, you love your family despite everyone else. And then once you've loved them, if it doesn't put you in any bad situation, then you can love your community. And if that doesn't hurt you anymore, then you can love your state, and so on. And he was trying to say that's a Christian concept.
Sure. When in reality, it's like you could pull up a number of scriptures that flat out disagree with that, talking about how compared to following Christ, you need to hate your father and mother and everything else like that. There's a sword that's going to be cut. All of these things that are saying like, no, this is Jesus is calling us to sacrifice. So it's not what's best for me or what's best for my family. It's this idea of, no, I'm called to sacrifice.
And Jesus calls us to love everyone. And I think one of the things about that Good Samaritan story is that he uses someone who had diametrically opposed views,
right,
as the person we're supposed to love. And so when I get into this topic, I think if I'm honest, I'm having a very hard time loving certain groups of people right now. And going back to the idea of Christians disagreeing, I'm okay if we disagree on politics. I'm okay if we disagree on applying our faith to government.
Give me an example. Give me an example of what you're okay with. I mean, I think I know, but I just want to I want to make sure everybody understands. When we talk about disagreeing on how to apply it governmentally, what are you like? Yeah, I don't agree with that, but like I'm okay with it. I make space for it. I'm not going to complain about it, but I disagree with it.
I understand the argument against universal health care.
Okay.
That I think a way to, and we defined this last summer. The Bible says that the role of government is to be God's agent for everyone's good.
Mm-hmm.
It does not define what everyone's good is.
Sure.
I believe a way for everyone's good would be to get the basics of health care covered through their taxes and not have to worry about it being tied to a job or to a private insurance company.
Sure.
That's my belief for everyone's good. We can disagree on that, and that's a political decision. I'm okay disagreeing there. I believe public schools are a good thing to have so that all kids are taken care of and not just certain groups. You can believe that's not the government's job. I disagree with you, but we can still go about life with those disagreements. You're going to frustrate me because I simply can't understand how you live on that side. And I see fundamental differences with you, but if you're not being an absolute clown about it and doing it solely because of the culture war issues and solely as the on the lib side, we can disagree. And that's what made the conversation at church so frustratingly, I don't know what the word is, almost frustratingly reaffirming, because I was frustrated that this guy didn't see the world the same way I do. I was frustrated that he didn't see all the issues that I see with Elon Musk. But I was reassured that he said, yeah, from a basic Christian standpoint, I've got to take care of immigrants if they're in my life. If there's anything in my life, like he's like, I serve with someone on a community board who is an undocumented immigrant, and I want to take care of that person. They've been here their entire life. And so he has this, like, we actually agree in many places, but it's like, there are disagreements with application-based stuff. So
Yeah.
I want to get on the front end that it is okay for us to disagree politically. It's frustrating, but even the disciples disagreed politically.
Sure.
But what I'm having a hard time doing is loving my neighbors who have this focus on mean-spirited politics right now.
Mm.
If I'm honest, there are people on both sides of the aisle that are mean-spirited with their policies right now, or their politics and their communication.
Okay.
In my world, most are on the conservative side because that's who I'm mostly around.
Okay.
I also have liberal friends who are blowing up every single comment or thing that Trump or Vance or Musk do as the biggest thing ever, and they're being absolutely hyperbolic about it. But while I'm okay disagreeing, while I understand, in my view, what the weight of right now is,
Mm-hmm.
it's the mean-spirited side of it, the full-throated endorsement of those who are doing that I don't want to be in a relationship with those people anymore.
Sure. Yeah, I think it even goes to like this idea again, and I've been on Facebook a couple of times recently with some political posts that I've had people from all across the aisle respond to me on. And, and as of recording this here, Trump recently, the official White House social media released a mock cover of like Time magazine, but it's Trump magazine. And it has him with the crown on, says "Long live the king," right? And there's been some other things that Elon Musk has done or whatever. And what I get from people is like, oh, you don't get the joke. Like, he's joking, right? This is a joke. Oh, what? Why are you so triggered? Joke, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I'm on that side too. It's like, I don't really want to be in that spot where you are doing things just to get a rise out of your political opposition. It's like the whole own the libs thing is just, as a conservative, I'm tired of that. Like, I'm not into that, And like you said, on the other side, because I would post things that were a little bit more moderate or even from the liberal side of the aisle, progressive. And what I would get is other progressives that would jump in on me and say, I'm not doing enough, or that's not good enough, or that's not, whatever. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, at some point, I was thinking about this analogy. So you live in the Carolinas. You live in one of the meccas of culinary of the culinary wonder that is barbecue, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, he's shaking his head. He's like, where are we going here? Right? Now, let's say you are having
South Carolina barbecue sucks, by the way. Get that mustard out of here.
Okay, so let's say you are now, I live in a region that is very close to Texas. So we're very inspired by Texas barbecue, right? So let's say you are having barbecue. You are not having a barbecue. You're having barbecue at a picnic. And someone comes that is vegan or is like, doesn't like barbecue. I would say that most people, you might give them a lighthearted jab here or there, but you're like, oh yeah, you're still invited. Sure. In fact, we've got some sides. We've got coleslaw, or I don't know, coleslaw probably doesn't count because it's got mayonnaise in it, but it's like, we've got other things. You could bring some other stuff. No big deal. We can all be at the table together. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's okay. Or even if somebody was like, oh, I really like St. Louis barbecue style better than whatever, or I prefer brisket over pulled pork, or, whatever you consider it. It's like, you're still inviting them there. It's still okay. We can still have conversations and we can still be, civil with each other. But our political, the political environment right now is that neighbor that has a different preference. Let's say they're vegan, shows up, and you're flipping the gosh darn picnic table, or you're shoving the barbecue in their face. That's what it feels like now. And then, oh no, I'm just joking, just messing with you, man. It's just whatever. Or if somebody shows up to your picnic and they've got a peanut allergy, and somehow you sneak in something that has peanuts in it. It's just a joke,
think it'd be
man.
funny.
Yeah, I'm just being funny, man. Oh yeah, well, he's in anaphylactic shock now. Real funny. Right? Like, so I think that's the other thing is like, I don't want to be in that environment anymore where people are trying to own the libs, or where the people that are in charge of our country think it's okay to joke about half of the, basically 50% of the country.
Yeah, and it's been a really hard spot to be on. By the time this comes out, we're 2 months into this officially. And people who I once respected and who I like personally, they would never say these things to me personally in conversation because they know I would push back on them, and they know that if I'm honest, I think they understand it crosses the line.
Yeah.
But then they go on Facebook and they'll post the same stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I see those things and I don't want to be in the real life in-person conversation with them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to pull it up now. I had someone who I know in real life, who I care about in real life.
Okay.
They added me on Facebook, and then the first thing I saw from their Facebook was putting Donald Trump in the same likes as Nelson Mandela and MLK, because those two were arrested and were felons and still did good things. So maybe we should worry about who's arresting people and not about calling people felons.
There you go.
And I'm like, I don't want to be around you. If that's what you're doing, like if you're completely disregarding the rule of law, if you're completely disregarding the things that I thought we at least morally agreed on and celebrating them, then I don't want to be in relationship with you.
Right.
And the tension behind that is, I know Jesus has called me to be caring and loving for my neighbors.
Sure.
And I don't know the line currently between loving my neighbor and being in a relationship with them so that I can show them Jesus. And also take the mental health side of it out because that's a different conversation. But also, like, being in relationship with people who are full-throated supporting authoritarian dictatorship that marginalizes people.
Yeah.
Again, we can disagree on politics. That's okay. I draw the line at full-throated support of authoritarianism that marginalizes people.
Yeah, let me just bring this, because I think it's like there used to be a mutual understanding. Like, I think about when I would play pickup basketball or board games or whatever. Like, I only really want to do those things with people that I know now, right? Because, like, I want to know that everybody knows we're going to have a good time, and everybody knows we all got to go to work tomorrow. Everybody knows we got a family, and like none of us are going to make the league here. But I think all of us have gotten involved in either those pickup games or even if it's a game of Uno or Chutes and Ladders, and you get involved with somebody that's taking it way too seriously, right? And they're like genuinely upset, or they're just vindictive with you, or they're throwing elbows or something like that. And you're like, whoa. Like, I get that there's another level we could take this to, but I thought we had this understanding that at the end of the day, we're still family, we're still friends, we're still whatever. And this game, this politics, this doesn't matter as much as you and I being okay. It's like Andy Stanley saying, like, I never want a political view to get in the way of a relationship with you. It's like he played that word game with view and you. Like, I'm never going to let a view get in the way of the you that's in front of me. It's like, I totally understand.
But when we stopped agreeing that everyone's made in the image of God and deserves to be treated equally because of politics,
right?
And we start supporting people who will like, I think borders need to be stronger.
Right.
I think we need to severely overhaul how we do entrance into this country.
Mm-hmm.
But I also recognize why so many people came here.
Sure.
I recognize that the children who came here, it's not their fault that their parents brought them here. And that many of those children are now productive adults in our society.
Yep.
So whenever I see a Hispanic person in the news, my first thought is not going to be deport them.
Right.
Like, at what point did we stop seeing humanity and start seeing labels?
Right.
And that's the part that is so frustrating right now, because I'm okay with disagreeing with what we do with people who came here in ways that were not in line with the law.
Yep.
But can we not agree that families shouldn't be broken up? Can we not agree that concentration camps, which by definition is what Guantanamo Bay would be if we deported people there, that is by definition a concentration camp? I understand that there's a lot that's tied to that word because of the Nazi concentration camps. I'm not trying to imply that they're going to send them to gas chambers or something like that. But by definition, putting a large group of people in a place that's not enough to handle them
in a camp that is concentrated.
That's by definition a concentration camp. Like, I'm not going to support that.
So, and I mean, we can even let's back it up a step too, because it's like with what Elon Musk and Doge are doing. Like, do I believe that there is, do I believe that there's inefficiencies in the government? Yes. Do I believe
1,000%?
Do I believe that there are political people that have put people in place or have, signed contracts or whatever where they're benefiting from it that is corrupt?
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. Do I think they should be audited? Yes. Do I think that when we talk about this situation, is it a time for somebody like Donald Trump to get out there and be like, oh, it's the radical leftists in our, everything he says about people is radical. Anyone he doesn't believe in is a radical, is a killer, is a murderer, is a this or that. Like, those are things. Do I think that that people who commit crimes should be held responsible? Yes. Do I think that it's okay for the United States official White House social media to post something that says ASMR and then sounds of chains from deportation and showing like the shackles and stuff like that? It's like, that's dehumanizing and that is wrong. And I don't know where we got to that point where all of a sudden it's like somebody thought that's a good idea and nobody was in the room saying maybe we shouldn't do that, right?
And that's the difference for me. It's like I can be in a relationship and love somebody, hopefully well, who believes people should be deported if they came here in an illegal way. I can't be in a relationship with someone who likes that video,
right,
of chains that dehumanizes people.
Yep. So much winning.
Are we smart enough to see that difference at this point? I hope that listeners are like, we can disagree politically. We cannot see humans as property or as unhuman just because of where they come from and still be in a relationship. We can't, I cannot do that. And I struggle with it because I know Jesus has commanded me to love my neighbor, and I'm really struggling to even want to not flick them off every time I see them.
Well, this is what it brings up for me too, is like, think about like 150 years ago, looking back at the Civil War and going like, how on earth, like literally brother against brother, how could brothers fight each other in the Civil War? Now I'm watching people like disowning their own siblings over a Facebook meme. And I'm like, oh, all right, I get it now.
I get it.
Like, okay,
I
get it. It's like, how do we get to that point where that becomes the issue? So it's just so tough because it's like, this own the libs thing and the vitriol we throw back and forth. They're radical, they're fascist, they're Nazis, we start throwing these words around and it starts to really feel like it's an episode of WWE, except like nobody else realizes it's all scripted. Like, you don't realize that the people that are on your TV, the people that are in your social media, the people that are doing it, it's scripted. Your GOP congressperson is playing a role. They have been given a script and they are playing a role, but we're the ones that are seriously taking chair shots to the face. It's like, it's going from WWE on your TV to you and me now in our backyard trying to drop a swanton bomb off of somebody's roof. Like, we're getting stirred up by this storyline, and now in real life, we're lighting each other on fire and hitting each other with chairs and going off of the trampoline into the pool, and somebody's putting a snake on our arms. And anyway, Hell in a Cell.
You just knocked out like 4 different eras of wrestling right there
try,
in
man.
one sentence. Like you went Jake the Snake,
I did.
Mankind versus Undertaker,
yeah,
Hardy Boys. Like it's pretty impressive.
Well, I try, man. And then the other thing that just gets to me is like one of my favorite all-time pump-up songs was Rick Derringer's "Real American." Hulk Hogan's original song. And it's like, to bring it all together, it's like thinking about what I used to like just jam to in the early, in the mid 80s, early 90s. It's like, I'm a real American, fight for the rights of every man. And you go through that song and it's like, when did real Americans became the people that would fight for the rights of just our personal preferences, or intentionally fight against the rights of our neighbors? When in reality, like, I was taught by Hulk Hogan, by old school Hulk Hogan, not now Hulk Hogan, but like old school Hulk Hogan, G.I. Joe, like all of the shows
Captain Planet.
that was like Captain Planet. You're going to sacrifice yourself. The best thing that you could do is sacrifice yourself to go and help someone else.
You know who else taught us that?
Huh?
You know who else taught us that?
Jesus.
Bible man.
Yeah, right. No, I think
you probably didn't. You didn't start church till later.
I wasn't into Bible man, but like, you're a wrestling fan, right? I mean, at some level, right? That. So think about, maybe not now. Well, it even happens in now storylines. Like, for all of us, at some point, you have seen a wrestling match. You know what happens when the good guy or somebody is in the ring and getting pummeled by the bad guys. What happens? Boom, there goes the glass shattering, and Stone Cold comes in and he starts stunnering people and pouring beers on them. Or all of a sudden, if you smell what the Rock is cooking, or something happens where someone's sprinting into the ring, like literally John Cena sprinting into the ring to go 1-on-5 to save the day. What happened to that freaking America? That's what I want to know, because I'm looking at a bunch of people that are cheering on the 5-on-1, beating on people, and nobody's in the back in the locker room ready to come out and start, kicking names. And
again, I go back to this. We can disagree on how we save those other people, how we save the person.
I'm coming in like Stone Cold. I'm just middle fingers, just foot to the quad, boom, stunner you, just getting in your face like this. I'm doing that stuff, okay? I'm doing that. I'm clearing off the Spanish announcer's table, tossing you onto that bad boy. Michael Cole's going crazy.
I can still be in a relationship with someone who says, you know what, that guy getting beat down, what he needs is the government to get off his neck so that he can pull himself up by his bootstraps and have the freedom to do that. I can be in a relationship with someone that does that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I might think the government should help them out. We're just seeing how, like, we are both motivated by helping other people.
Sure.
And seeing even if you take the Christianity out of it, by seeing the humanity in others.
Mm-hmm.
When you strip away the humanity, and it's just a caricaturized version
you got there.
of something we don't like, I'm struggling. I am legit struggling to want to have conversations and be in a relationship with those people. And we're 2 months in. We are 2 months into this, and that's where we're at. Where are we going to be a year from now? How much further is this going to go? Like, I don't want to be the alarmist. I have friends who are ringing the alarm bells, and I don't think they're wrong. But where does this go? I was legitimately thinking about it this morning. Like, me and the guy at church, we had disagreements. But the thing that stuck out to me was he said, I'd love to know your opinion once it gets to whenever Doge is supposed to be done, if you still disagree with it, or if you like. he didn't explicitly say it, but one of the things he did say, he's like, I believe Elon Musk has values that he sticks by, and that's why I like him. And it was a full-throated defense of Musk, to the point that every issue I brought up that I have with Musk, there was a rebuttal for.
Mm.
So once we get to that place when Doge has ended, I don't know if there's anything Musk could do that would cause him to not be in agreement with him.
That's a great question to ask too. What would it take?
And when I play that out, I literally thought about this morning. Where's the line where I have to remove myself?
Right.
And unfortunately, I already have friends who are removing themselves from church because the line has already been crossed by a majority of Christians in their view.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know people who are okay with Jesus, who want to follow him, but the line that I was told by one person was, I don't have space in my life to align myself with that.
Right.
And I get it. Like, I'm not there yet, but I see that in my future.
Yep.
Not that I'm going to walk away, like, not that I want to walk away from church, not that I want to do anything like that, but I see where this is going. I see where this, like, bow the knee to the king or else type of mindset is becoming, and then we're 2 months in. So when we start presidential election cycle for 28, which is going to start in 26 or into 26,
right,
going into 27, like, we're legitimately 18 months away from that starting up. What's this going to be by then?
And we just recently at CPAC, which again, at some point, all of you listening that are, I don't know, nobody's listening that's pro-Trump, I don't think, but if you are, somebody sent
no, there are. I have a friend. I talked to him last week. I was asking him how he feels about it, and like,
oh, that's great. Okay, so CPAC, right? Like, there's going to be an excuse. It's like, guys, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. That's just a fringe. But they're literally starting these conversations on a third Trump term. On a third Trump term.
For Trump 2028 and beyond, the third term project. That's a banner at CPAC right now.
Third Trump term. Not only that, but by that point,
with the tagline, finish the job.
Right. What is it? What is he going to be? 108 years old at that point? You know, like, all the things that I thought were wrong with Biden being too old. It's like, no, that's okay now. Like, and that's the other piece is Biden was too old and he doesn't know what he's doing and people are running the show behind the scenes. What do you think's happening with Trump right now and Elon? Like, what's going on? And what would happen if Kamala Harris won and Oprah was doing these things?
Or no, Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a better example.
Now, I'm saying Oprah because she's a woman and she's black.
Oh, there's that.
And with Kamala. And guess what? Your good old boys wouldn't like that, would they? Right? You wouldn't like that very much. So, but it's like the hypocriticalness of it, having these conversations with people, like trying to have a rational conversation with some people is like trying to play fetch with a cat. Like, you can throw the ball all you want, but they're going to sit there and stare at you like an idiot. You know, it's like, I thought we were playing catch here. No, I'm not playing catch. I'm here to lick my butthole.
I thought we were called to care about people.
Right.
I thought we were called to love our neighbor as ourself. I thought we agreed that Jesus told us to set aside our preferences for others so that we could love them well. I thought that Paul told us that if it offends my brother to eat meat, I'm not going to eat meat, because what is important to them is important to me, and I will lay down my preferences for them.
Right.
Like, this is what I was taught growing up. We can disagree whether or not the government should tax the meat by 3% or 7%. Like, we can have those disagreements. I'm okay with that. But when we start saying that my opinion is more important than your opinion, and your opinion makes you less of a Christian, makes you not a Christian, and makes you less of a human being, then, like, what are we doing?
Right. Yeah, it's like some of you, if Jesus were here today, some of you, some of us, some people would be sitting there with Jesus and say, well, actually, Lord, you didn't like specify whether or not we had to love our neighbors who support trans rights, right? Like, oh, well, technically, Lord, you didn't say these things. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing with that? Why are we trying to rewrite the Bible to fit your political agenda, as opposed to looking at things and saying, okay, well, not what would Jesus do? Like, what did he actually do? What did he actually do? He fed 5,000 people, and not a single one of them did he say, oh we got to drug test these first.
And they had leftovers.
Yeah. He's like, we're going to feed 5,000.
You know what? That means that Jesus was inefficient with his miracle working.
Yep.
Because there was leftover in what he did.
And I understand.
Because sometimes to help people, it's not going to be efficient.
And the conservative side says, well, that was Jesus. That's not the government. I get it. How am I?
I get it. We can disagree there.
I'm supposed to act the way Jesus acts. So yeah, sure. If we don't want to say the government, but what about personally? How are you acting? Are you acting like Jesus?
And that's the rub.
Yeah. And that's it. It's like, am I still going to say there are people in my immediate area that have needs, and I have the ability to meet them and have
they're
more
probably brown skinned?
Am I going to be able to do that? Right? Like, if you have the ability to meet those needs, because like in the parable of the Good Samaritan, the Samaritan paid for the person and said, I will have more later. So it wasn't like he said, well, I'm going to give everything for this person. But it's like, if you have the ability to help somebody, not just monetarily, but just be friggin' nice, right? Like, if you have the ability to care for somebody as another human being and still have money left over, or still have, abundance left over, like, why wouldn't you? But some of us are sitting here going like, well, no, they didn't earn it, right? Oh, are they here legally? Oh, let's make sure this or that. It's like, okay, should we go and help the beaten man? Well, I don't know his immigration status. Got to figure that out first. Who do you vote for? Right? Because we literally have political leaders.
On that front, I've shared the story on here before that a client of mine was warned by someone in the church communication space that Jonathan loves Jesus, but he's a liberal.
Radical.
How have we gotten to the place that because I want healthcare and public education that I should be warned about?
Mm-hmm.
And how am I supposed to love my neighbor who feels the need to warn others that even though I love Jesus, I think healthcare should be taken care of at the basic level for human beings?
And you are part of the enemy from within. What?
Funny thing is that guy's Canadian.
Okay.
So, I don't get it. And this is the time of the episode where I'm supposed to try to find the pretty bow so that we can tie this whole thing together. And all I can say is I am fearful for where we are going. I am worried about what this is going to look like in 18 months. And I am trying really hard to love those who view things differently than I do. But I'm doing a worse and worse job at it every single day. And I don't like that.
I think about this too. It's like history. Yes, the internet lives forever. But history's not going to remember the comments, the Facebook comments, the memes, the political slogans. But the people that are connected with you are going to remember how you treat each other. And one of the truths that changed my life and helped me kind of continue to peel back that onion layer of like Eric the a-hole is within 2 generations, you are going to be reduced to one line at Thanksgiving, right? Oh, remember Grandpa Jonathan? He was a blank. He loved.
How's Tin Sean going to talk about you?
Ten Sean. Yeah, but I mean, I think about that. It's like some of the people in our lives, think about your great grandparents. When you hear about them, like in my family,
My
my,
kids already don't remember my mom.
my dad's grandma, he talks about her like she was the meanest person in the world. This is a person that lived 70 odd years, had a full life, had kids, had a business, and the one thing that's remembered, that's passed down to me, is she was one of the meanest people he had ever come in contact with. And it's like, ignore everything else that happened about your life. That's the legacy you're going to live. And so when it all comes down to it, and does it come down to voting records or what, memes or jokes? I want people to know that I was kind and I was generous. That's what I want people to know. I want people to know that I was dependable, that, the types of think about it. What would you want to hear somebody else say about you? Well, boy, so and so, he stood up for the biblical truth. Yeah, but he was, but his adult parents or his adult kids never talked to him. Or, hey, you know what? Like I think about my wife's grandma. She cared about every single person she came in contact with, and she fought for everybody's rights. And there was a place in her house, at her table, in her guest bedroom, for anyone at any time. And it's like, dang, I want that to be known about me. And nobody is going, oh, well, what if they were gay? Or, well, what if they were an illegal immigrant? No, we don't say any of that. We go, grandma would have accepted any single person. Then, like, she was a nurse during World War II and fought for the rights of black nurses to make sure that they got the same pay increases and everything else like her. Like, I want that to be my legacy, not, oh, hey, you know what? Oh, you remember Grandpa Eric? Yeah. Uh, funny. The guy, what I remember about him was he had cargo shorts on and he was storming the Capitol January 6th. He had a "Don't Tread on Me" flag outside of his house. That's the one thing I remember about him. I remember his bumper sticker said, "I'm voting for the felon." I don't want that to be my legacy. I don't want that to be your legacy. At the end of the day, like, the only thing that's stronger than fear and stronger than division, stronger than all those things that divide us, is love and kindness and all of the fruits of the Spirit that Jesus talks about. And at the end, just come back to that. Come back to that. That's where I'm at.
And I'm struggling to love the people who claim that's where they're at, and then their lives and their Facebook posts say something different. Like, the single greatest cause of atheism in the world today. I mean, we all know the Decent Talk quote. Like, like, do what?
I said skillet. My faith, my family, shooting my guns.
But
somebody had pronouns in their bio. Jesus is going to be attacked. That's why people are atheists, because of crap like that. Because I have loves Jesus in my bio, and then I treat people like crap.
I don't want to leave the church. I hope I never do. But I look at that conversation I had on Sunday, and what terrifies me is the full-throated support that, where's the line? Okay, we agreed on Jesus, so we're good right now. Like, we can be in a relationship now. But when you're supporting everything with no recognition of issues, with a justification for everything, where is the line? Because there's going to come a point that it get like, when you give people room to do stuff, they're going to take it till you stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Give someone an inch, they'll take them out. Like that. There's a reason these sayings exist. So where do we stop them when it comes to dehumanizing? And then, as a Christian, I have to ask myself, where is the line that I stop loving that person? Where's the line that I remove myself from a relationship with them? Can I remove myself from a relationship with them while still continuing to love and care for them?
Mm.
Like, these are the questions that I'm having to wrestle with. I'm not at that point yet to having to make those decisions, thankfully, but they're not that far off in the long run. And if I'm honest, which is what this whole season's been about, if it wasn't for Jesus, I would have already been there.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing keeping me in relationship with, quote unquote, those people is the fact that Jesus told me to.
Which is ironic, because the people that tell you that you're leaving the faith, or you're this or that, or you're not a real Christian, it's like, or you're leaving the church, or any of that deconstruction like myth. It's like, no, the only reason I am holding on to this is because of faith.
And the interesting part, there are Christians on the other side. Obviously, I'm not in contact with those. So we mentioned on the front end, that would tell me I'm doing the wrong thing right now while trying to love the people who I'm struggling to love. They won't even acknowledge. That's a whole different episode, but I don't think most of our audience comes from that background. I want to acknowledge it, but there's never been a time in my life where tension has been as much of a descriptor as it is now. Like, us changing the name to this show 2 years ago, or a year and a half, whatever it was, like, we thought it was a cool name, but what it has turned into is the best single word description of what I'm feeling. So on that note, we're going to be done today. No pretty bow. If you have thoughts on this conversation, we'd love to hear them. If you want to tell us how you're struggling to love your neighbors, or have questions on how you should do it, feel free to send those in to hello@tensionpodcast.com. You can send them to Eric at EricW712 on all the major platforms. I am at Jonathan_Crone on them as well. If you are struggling, I just want you to know that it's okay. Like, Jesus is still there. He's still walking with you, and we're going to figure it all out together. Next week, though, we're going to celebrate. Next week, we're not going to have hard conversations. We're going to celebrate the good things that have happened over the last 99 episodes. If you have a story you want to share with us, please get those to us by this Thursday, March 20th. Hello at I keep wanting to say hello at Unlearning Youth Group. Hello at tensionpodcast.com, at EricW712, at Jonathan_Crone. Next week, we celebrate. Thank you so much for joining us the last 99 episodes. We hope you have a great week, and we will see you again next week. Have a great week, everybody.